All right, we are live. I wanted to talk about a couple different things today, but mainly we're going to keep the issue focused on 9/11 in general and all the conspiracy theories, because I found quite a few of theories in my research that have led me down a couple different paths. Let me just first start by introducing myself. My name's Jeremy and Rise, and right, I get a phone call right now. All right, I'm sorry. This is it's 9/11 today, and today's 9/11, and I wanted to talk about a couple different things. I just released an expose on Medium.com, my first article, and I'm back also on Minds.com. I'm going to be posting more of my stuff there as well too. But here is here's a link to that recent article, and yeah, so kind of just want to say a couple things about 9/11 because it is the 20th year anniversary. Is the American public ready for like the truth about this stuff? It's kind of crazy, like that the government's like kept the truth about all these things from us, because they say, oh, we can't handle the truth, and that like there'd be a total breakdown of society and all this other stuff. And essentially what they're saying is like we should just let these criminals get away with murder. It's basically what I hear when I hear those people like tell me that. That, oh, we're never, it's never going to get exposed, and it's never going to, the cover-up's just going to keep continuing. And I just want to say, like, I've been, like, 9/11 is the event that really woke me up to all this stuff. I never would have started researching Roswell or any of this other stuff if it weren't for 9/11. 9/11 is what really opened my eyes early on in the beginning. And it was because on 9/11, I was in a physics classroom with a whole bunch of my physics professors, and I watched the towers fall live, on TV. And I remember that day vividly, and all my physics professors and all the students had watched the towers collapse, and we'd all said, there's no way that this could have happened. It was definitely blown up, and we all thought the buildings had been blown up, and we thought actually that the Russians had done it. That was what we had decided, because we're like, this, like, who else could have done this? Like it has to be like, I remember watching Red Dawn when I grew up, so that was kind of like my interpretation of it. And I just I went with a friend of mine who was a pilot, and we went to a lake in Halifax, and we went kayaking, and we were going to dive under the water if we saw a nuclear flash, because we thought like it was doomsday, like we thought it was the end of the world. And it never occurred to me, and 3 years later, and when I started researching some of the stuff, and I was like, how could there be, it was the 2.3 trillion missing from the Pentagon the day after, and all that Larry Silverstein stuff, and then also the plane and the Pentagon and all that stuff, which I don't really. Some of those other theories have been, kind of just like turning points or like hang up points for the whole movement, and watching the whole thing progress. There's been all these disinformation that's been injected in. It's easy to spot and sort out. You got to look at everything and say this is probably disinformation, and try to sort it out from there. So I swear that like this guy's outside my house honking his horn, setting his car alarm off. So anyways, yes, I'm the dude. I've been putting shit out for so many years on this, like really trying to get hardcore on the research, been after the truth, dedicated to finding the truth. I've had people like Andrew Johnson of Check the Evidence, one of the say, he put a whole thing together, saying, if you look up Check the Evidence on me, there's all these people putting out disinformation on me. This is where this is what happened with me and Ed Fouché, man. It's like Ed Fouché was like my friend, and I let him know a lot of personal things about my life. I talked to him on the phone all the time, and got like, I almost think that's why I wonder about Ed sometimes. But we're gonna talk about Ed another time. But it's weird because after Ed betrayed me and went and told all my shit to Andrew Johnson, but Andrew Johnson that had nothing on me, and he said, yeah, there's this alien science, and this alien science. This was in 2011, right when Ed ran to him and told him all this about me, and said, oh, you got a criminal history, and I went to jail before. Well, yeah, I did. I went to jail right after 9/11 for a domestic assault case, and I did some time in jail. And what's weird is that real criminals don't go to jail, or they get fake. Their deaths get faked, and they escape from jail by body switch, like everyone thinks happened to Jeffrey Epstein, or it wouldn't be hard because they just have to give him detrototoxin, and they would stopped his heart, and they brought him to they would have got him out of the medical thing. They could have switched him with a dummy and got him out of there. He was a billionaire, or they killed him, one or the other. I'm not saying I want to get into all these other conspiracies and stuff, but this guy is one of the biggest disinformation agents, and all these people. There's like this whole swarm of them on Twitter I found, and at any time you talk about thermite or any like this other stuff, like all the debunkers come, and then these other people come to spread these other nonsensical theories and stuff. And I just want to talk about the difference in scientific method, and why my investigations of 9/11 are legitimate. That people are like, oh, you're a scientist, or you're a conspiracy theorist, and all this stuff. What is, so I want to go over what science is about, and the science that I've done in the investigation into this, and some of the people involved. So one of these guys is saying that, AE 9/11 Truth are the biggest shills. Like the disinformation is so thick. The people supporting this have to say that American architects and engineers, the whole organization, are a bunch of shills, or they're the controlled opposition, or whatnot. It's kind of ridiculous, because I want to talk about how that organization was formed, and some of the people that I know personally who are involved in that. One of them is a personal friend of mine, my family friend. Okay, his name is John Cole, and John Cole's blog is right here. I'm going to post that for you guys. So John Cole is actually one of the architects and engineers who started this whole thing. All right, and I've been through a lot of different stuff. I never would have started investigating any of these other stuff. But Roswell, the memory foil is important. It's all just look at the witness testimony, the evidence, and that's the scientific evidence for Roswell. So anyone claims this is not scientific, or this is hogwash and stuff, hasn't really dove into the material. They don't understand what they're talking about. So we were the first to prove. So right when the debunkers came out with all this stuff, remember, it was National Geographic. Early on, this was National Geographic came out with a hit piece on 9/11 conspiracy theories, right? And they covered all the no-plane theory stuff and all the hologram theory stuff. And then they gave the thermite stuff. They said it was ridiculous that anyone could melt vertical steel columns with it, and it was silly. And same thing with popular mechanics. It was like a tipping point that when popular mechanics had that debate with loose change on Amy Goodman. That was a tipping point for the 9/11 truth movement. If you guys were there for that, all right. This is history, and it's not well told about how all this went down, but it's all documented for people that want to watch it and look it up. So anyways, Democracy Now! Had this whole debate with Jason Bermas and Dylan Avery, and these guys were not prepared. They didn't have. It was early on in the investigation. They had some of the pieces. Loose Change was one of the first films.
Small corporate.
Right here, one of the first films.
Crashes into their building.
All right. This was like a really good early on film, man, that really blew it up. Loose Change. Dylan Avery is a great guy. I met him in person down Fall River when he came to Massachusetts. I got to hang out with him. He's a stand-up dude. He just was early on in the investigation. They didn't have the full picture of the puzzle, all right, put together. They didn't have the full picture. So they kind of messed up when and that kind of screwed things up a little bit. But I want to say that Jonathan Cole has a whole blog, and we did the experiments to prove that yeah, you could melt steel with thermite. So we did experiments. That's real science. We've taken our hypothesis and then we've proven it. We've shown that you can do this with thermite. And there's ways to. And if it was inside the core of the building, it's deep enough in the core. That's where all the structural support of the World Trade Center is in the core. So all you need to do is melt a couple steel columns in the core with some of this thermite stuff, and then they say that there would be evidence for it and all this stuff. Well, there's a video that was really famous it was called World Trade Center Thermite on YouTube. I probably can't even find it now because it's so outdated. But there's that whole video with the thermite drip out the side, and it looks just like thermite, and it's from the Camera Planet archive and everything. So, anyways, that was the key thing that tipped people off to thinking it was thermite. Then the fact that these debunkers think that steel, the fires were alone to melt the steel, but there was evidence of steel in the dust. If we look at the forensic evidence, there's the Appendix C of the FEMA report had the only sample of steel that was tested with metallurgical analysis. And right in the conclusions, Dr. Jonathan Barnett, right? What is it? Appendix C, right? Appendix C FEMA report. I'll show people how to find this stuff, right? Right in the conclusions of the report, the only metallurgical analysis done on World Trade Center steel, he recommends that further analysis should be done. All right, they have these hangars full of all these pieces of steel that have probably been scrubbed for all we know, all this time that's gone by. The curators or whoever takes care, think it's just sitting there. No, they have scientists working on how to scrub that evidence and how to remove whatever they had. And it's crazy because most of the evidence was destroyed at an unprecedented rate and just gotten rid of, especially early on. And the people who should have been there doing the investigations, the FBI, were flown completely on the other side of the country. They were away in California. So if you watch the Press for Truth documentary, Press for Truth was the Jersey Girls, right? There was a part in it, which is amazing. This is my favorite part of the whole entire documentary, and I just want to play it real quick for you guys because this is a good one to introduce people to the whole. I can't even find this. So here it is. Top documentary films, Press for Truth. Maybe I'll find it here. But there was I can't even find it. It's just the trailer. So, anyways, in this video, which you can't even probably find anymore, the Press for Truth, about the wives of the victims' family members who were pressing the government for the truth. There's this part in there where they talk about Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was appointed as the first guy to lead the 9/11 Commission, He's 97 years old. This motherfucker needs to die already, man, so this shit can come out. I hope he sees this and falls over and has a heart attack from it. But anyways, they were questioning Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was appointed to lead the 9/11 Commission. So they appointed the biggest deep state fuck up. Oh, no, sound isn't fucked up, man. Is the sound really messed up? People can hear. They're talking about all this. All right. Hella static. It's okay now. All right. My microphone might have been all right. So, anyways, sweet. They're not fucking with it. That might have been just a technical glitch, guys. Don't assume things, man. YouTube is still a decent platform, and not completely censored here anyway. So I'm glad some people are getting my shit. Anyways. Henry Kissinger is like the biggest deep state guy of all. I mean, he's recorded on like audio leaving Vietnam, telling kill them all, nuke the whole village. He's a bloodthirsty murderer who, really is just is the essence of the deep state, and he's the guy that trained the people that did 9/11. He's the master. He's the real 9/11 mastermind. If there ever was a 9/11 mastermind, it would be Henry Kissinger. And we're going to talk about that in a second, and how that all connects, and some other shit too. Man. So anyways, Henry Kissinger, right in that video, that he was appointed as the head of the 9/11 Commission, and then the Jersey girls asked him about it, and he said that that he basically fainted. So it would be great. I've been watching all these videos of like these murderers that are put on like confession tapes and stuff. The criminal this criminal psychology channel, right? I've been watching all these videos. They got millions of views. It's a trip, man. It's really a trip watching watching people lie, and learning about liars, and just some of them are just really fucking weird and crazy. But liars, the liars are funny. There's a bunch of other channels like this that have these videos of people, man. But it's just crazy watching liars lie. There's this whole Donald Rumsfeld's 9/11 story,
I mean, it was an accident.
I mean, it was just an accident. It's just they put out this scripted stuff, but I would love just to see Donald Rumsfeld put inside of a police or FBI interrogation room with a real interrogator, and just put that video up for people to see. You could wear him down the way that these investigators do, present all this evidence, and you get because when that one video where Luke Rudkowski approached him and asked him about World Trade Center 7, it was like insanity. World Trade Center 7 with Luke Rudkowski had confronted him. We probably can't even find it now. Let's see if I can actually find it. You gotta scroll down like 6 pages to find the good videos, the real video you're looking for now when you type it in word for word, the titles. There it is. Look at that. It's like 6 pages.
Thoughts on Building 7, Mr. Rumsfeld? Mr. Rumsfeld, it's hard to believe you don't know Building 7, though, to be completely honest with you.
So Donald Rumsfeld is either the dumbest.
That was away from
I gotta go.
Yeah, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding that.
Oh, is
it was
that
the
right?
third
I don't know anything
skyscraper
about
that was away from
I gotta go.
I gotta go.
I'm walking down the street yesterday in New York City, and down the block I see someone take
My picture with that good-looking lady, but
You can get one too. Yeah, but I was wondering, have you heard of Building 7? Because there was like a radio show where you said that you never heard of Building 7.
no, I haven't. What's
You
Building
have
7?
the third skyscraper that fell on 9/11.
Oh my gosh, sure. Now I remember.
Did you do some research into that?
No, I was busy with the Pentagon getting hit.
Of course. Yeah, but there's a lot of controvery surrounding that.
Oh, is
It was
that
the
right?
third
I don't know anything about
skyscraper
it.
that was away from.
I gotta go.
But really, never.
Princeton, right? Did you get it, hey?
All right. Disgusting to think about what that man had done. He had worked in World Trade Center 7. He worked for a bank, an international advisement, an international friggin' bank. It's just crazy when you look at the deep state and what the deep state is. I also want to mention a new name that came up. RFK and the Kennedys are all about exposing. The documents are all out. I mean, anyone who wants to look up and do the research can see that JFK and RFK were killed by the deep state. They were not killed by the official story. There was a Manchurian candidate. They had basically brainwashed the patsy Sirhan to lay waiting in the kitchen with a gun and a revolver, and that as soon as Kennedy walked in, he was to shoot at him. They brainwashed him. They did it to a suspect and had him shoot Stephen Fry on British television. A guy named Darren Brown did it to prove that it could be done. He's a psychological manipulator and master of neuro-linguistic programming and other psychological techniques. Man, amazing shit. But it's all fucking coming out, man. And 2020 is it's truly the information has been refined. It's all put together. It's the MK Ultra, all these documents are declassified. You know, the MK Ultra were working with programmed assassins. But let's talk about Thane Eugene Caesar, man. He was a security guard who had worked at Lockheed Martin and left his job as a security guard at Lockheed Martin to go get security guard position at the Ambassador Hotel about a week before the RFK assassination, because they were hiring, you know, more. They wanted to beef up security because RFK was going to be coming there to speak, and he was basically set to win the presidency against Nixon, the crook. So Nixon, the Watergate guy, Nixon, whole bunch of crazy shit. Watergate, Nixon. Everyone knows that Nixon was a crook, but interesting thing about Watergate, the Watergate burglar E. Howard Hunt, basically the spy master, on his deathbed said that, you know, he was just a bench warmer in the JFK assassination, that, you know, like that it was a hit. He was one of the tramps that were found on the train leaving the station with a guy named Frank Sturgis and another gentleman, I think, who I believe was I forget the other guy's name. He was another CIA asset guy, but they were basically all there on a train dressed as hobos leaving, and they all got arrested, and then they got bailed out and they disappeared and they never were seen again. If you look up the Dealey Plaza tramps. So I have a whole bunch of the three tramps, right? There's a whole controversy surrounding them. Hunt is definitely one of them. Sturgis is one of them. And then the other one they think is Caswell. Dan Caswell. So, and then there's other allegations, but I don't believe those. I think that these are the right matches, you know. In any case, yeah, these guys were there in Dealey Plaza during the JFK assassination, later in the Watergate burglars, and E. Howard Hunt's lawyer and attorney said that, why did you guys have JFK whacked? He asked him in private, right? And know what E. Howard Hunt said? He said that he had him whacked because he was that JFK was gonna spill the beans about the aliens and give our biggest secret away to the Russians about the X technology. So there was a program at Lockheed Martin, at the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, which existed around, you know, the time of RFK's assassination too, which came after the JFK stuff. So somewhere after, but you know, around the 60s, you know, the 1960s, when all this shit was going on, they killed JFK in 63, November 22nd. Honestly, whatever happened to the 9/11 Truth movement, dude? Can people hear? Can people still hear? It's not static again. All right, that should be better now. All right. Check. Any case, this was right around the 60s, right after they killed JFK. And I'm trying to connect it with all this other stuff that was going on at the time, because Bryce DeWitt was working with Wheeler at the time, and Wheeler was definitely involved with the metallurgy studies of looking at the metal for Battelle. Battelle was definitely the metallurgist who got sent that Roswell memory foil. And, you know, it's only a matter of time before we connect all this and expose the deep state fully and get the truth out. And it's all been covered up because this is like literally some Men in Black shit. And it's like why I see, you know, some logic. I have more understanding. I used to like think that those people who believed in reptilians were just nuts and way crazy and stuff. But the idea of just not necessarily a reptilian, but some kind of bad races of aliens literally influencing us as humans. Because look at how really stupid we are and how easy we are to influence. If there was just, you know, they had the right control mechanisms and stuff, which, you know, humans have already set up, it would just be really it's weird. All right, so I want to fast forward everything to 2020 and what's going on today, because we're right at the end of this COVID-19 thing, and it seems like this COVID-19 is wearing down. After the November election, it's not going to be any lot more lockdowns. The American people probably wouldn't even go for it at this point. They'd rise up like they're doing all over. And I think they've realized that by now. So this whole COVID thing's kind of dying down. People are losing their kind of like belief and trust in the CDC and also Fauci and everything, which, it's crazy because the world billionaires like Bill Gates bought out all the entire medical industry, in the decades before leading up to this whole thing. So it's kind of like set it all up. And a lot of the players from 9/11 too, believe it or not, like Donald Rumsfeld and his business partner Peter Jansen of the AMEC Corporation, they also invested a lot heavily in the medical industry, including aspartame. That was a whole big thing, is that Donald Rumsfeld was involved in the firm. If you look up aspartame and Donald Rumsfeld, you'll find that he was involved in this whole getting FDA approval passed through for things, so there's all this government backdoors. This is the deep state. It's all the government backdoors that happen where there's payoffs and stuff goes down that's not supposed to. Like security guards who work for Lockheed Martin going to work at the Ambassador Hotel and escorting RFK into the room, and then the autopsy on RFK's body showing that he was shot directly in the back of the head. The autopsy, the guy says this in the new Dark Journalist X-Protect video. Dark Journalist X-Protect documentary talks quite a bit about this. And so the X series, he's got this whole thing on X Protect, and he's doing this whole X series. Man, I got to get on the show and talk about some of these technologies and how all this shit kind of pulls together. If I can, it's easier for me to get my thoughts together. I write much better scripted stuff than I do with my live streams, because we get kind of lost in shit. But this is it's fascinating. Like what kind of projects were going on at Lockheed Martin that this dude was overseeing, that he was that secretive a guy that Robert Mayhew, his handler, would have, it doesn't say on Wikispooks. They need to do a better job on some of this stuff. But Thane Eugene Caesar, was it Robert A. Mayhew? This was his handler, and this guy was also a handler for one of the people involved in the MLK assassination, with the guy posing as a KKK member who gave the what's his name there? I forget his name now. He was a patsy too, and there were CIA agents that gave him the guns, told him to buy the gun, and he thought he was being a gun runner. He met these dudes. He met the same group of guys as Robert Mayhew was involved with. Man, you got to see this dude's eyes when you look at him. This guy's really creepy in the video, the X-Protect video that he showed. But there's a lot of shit that people are connecting and really pulling all the pieces together from the deep state. And I think a lot of it's related to, civil rights and people rising up and getting their freedom. And that they don't want people to have freedom. And then this civilization that we're moving toward, we're not ready for it, but the government isn't helping by holding us back. It's being like a nanny state that's just saying, oh, the little kid's not ready to grow up yet, and we're just in this very bad stage because we're rebellious teenagers, and this is our rebellious teenage years. We're growing up. We're about to be turning into grown-ups, man, and this is exactly where we're at with the whole process. But I want to go back to the COVID-19 thing. Dark Journalist has been doing some really good coverage on some of the COVID-19 deep state stuff. But there's this company called Merck. What's the name of the company that's doing all the data surveillance? I was just reading a whole thing about this whole company, MITRE Corporation. So the whole deal, let me just sum up what's going on right now and what the name of the game is with everything, that like Neuralink and all this shit, right? The whole the whole thing can be summed up in one word, right? No, three words. Sorry, total information awareness. Total information awareness is what this is all about. That's what they're trying to develop. This Neuralink stuff. Elon Musk is developing this brain interface. It's a simulation with the Borg, and then we got quantum computers coming out. We got Forbes putting out magazines about how this is going to change the economy when quantum computers come out, right? Forbes quantum computing. They have this whole thing about predicting the computer, and the era is here now, and we gotta see why it matters. You know why? Because in secret, this shit was figured out about 2 years ago. They built they built quantum computers, and they've had them running at the NSA headquarters out in Utah. They've had them before the public had them, before IBM had them, before these other people had them. This is just now getting out to the public, and now what they're doing is they're testing it and basically saying like, oh, well, how's it going to change the economy? Because they're debating on whether they want to release it or not. You know what I mean? And allow it to be released is what's going on. And this whole thing with the COVID-19 thing, it was really about tracking, the next stage of the tracking and surveillance grid, because they want to be able to track everybody and have this total information awareness and knowing where everywhere everybody is. This is the capability that they're looking for. And one thing was the problem with the surveillance technology. I know because I worked in surveillance, and I worked in cases where we provided evidence to the police and they were not able to prosecute, and they had to drop. Like the case just went unsolved because they didn't have good enough. They didn't have good enough surveillance footage of a person's face, and these other things. So they realized that the cameras are ineffective because there's ways that people can alter their identity, as we saw in that. And we saw in that hit, there was that assassination in Dubai that was caught on all the security camera footage, right? That's a good example. So the Dubai assassination video, where you can watch the murder happen, and all the assassins go in, and then they change their facial features and their identities. So they realize that people can obscure their face, so they want to be able to track them. Is basically the whole idea. That this total information awareness office, which does exist. There's a Total Information Awareness Office. They like to think that they're aware of all the information, but they're not. That's why they want to get these Neuralink brain interfaces so that they can link all their brains up so that they can be and share data instantly somehow. I don't see how that's going to work in conjunction with AI and other technologies. But this is where we're heading, people, and it's fucking nuts, dude. So the Total Information Awareness Office, and Snowden exposed a lot of this stuff, too, in his disclosures and stuff. But yeah, it's just kind of nuts. But the whole elephant in the room with 9/11, man, is like we let these criminals, and they're the ones who have control of this technology, and they're just making billions every year. The Iraq War is still going on. You know what I mean? And there's the resistance is in the whole war machine, and the fact that the banks, right? It's the corporate takeover. It really is that corporations rule the world, and that's really the whole reality behind 9/11, and why it doesn't come out is because it goes against the major commodities in the U.S. economy. It goes against oil, gold. Well, not oil, gold, and drugs. That's a whole different concept. But the whole drug thing is related to the deep state, because they wanted to go into Afghanistan and Iraq. It was about the oil and the drugs. That's why we started this war. That's why the deep state needed 9/11. Afghanistan opium production was outlawed by the Taliban just before 9/11, and that was a huge. It was going to be the end of the war on drugs. They were going to kill the whole 90% of the world's heroin and these drugs come from Afghanistan and this golden triangle, and it was basically going to be the end of the fucking war on drugs. We were going to be able to kill it at the source, But the fact is that drug money is a huge major part of how they fund the illegal operations. All right, so this is the next thing I want to show you guys. This is a key piece of evidence, right?
Colonel North, I'm certain it must have been painful for you, as you stated, to testify that you lied to senior officials of our government, that you lied and misled our Congress. And believe me, it was painful for all of us to sit here and listen to that testimony. It was painful. It was equally painful to learn from your testimony that you lied and misled because of what you believed to be a just cause. Supporters of Nicaraguan freedom fighters, the Contras. You have eloquently articulated your opposition to Marxism and communism. And I believe that all of us, I'm certain all of us on this panel, are equally opposed to Marxism and communism. But should we, in the defense of democracy, adopt and embrace one of the most important tenets of communism and Marxism? The ends justify the means. This is not one of the commandments of democracy. Our government is not a government of men. It is still a government of laws.
All right, now that was the wrong video, so I gotta go back. But that was still really cool. This is what I was talking about.
Shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest.
All right, so this was the famous secret government clip from Senator Inouye, and he was talking about the continuity of government program, okay? And when it got brought up at the House Select Committee on Assassinations, right? So everyone knows what the House Select Committee on Assassinations was, right? It's when people finally rose up and got like they raised so much of a stink that the government was forced to reopen an investigation on RFK and JFK and Martin Luther King's assassinations because there were so many conspiracy theories going around. You know what I mean? So this is what we need to happen now. And this is what almost got uncovered during these House Select Committee on Assassinations. But these people worked overtime and extra hard to cover up all the traces, kill all the witnesses. You know, George de Mohrenschildt murdered. You know, there were so many witnesses that were killed before they could testify, or in the process of testifying, they committed suicide, or mysteriously, or all these crazy things. So my mic's clipping. That's what's going on. So this is just absolutely nuts when you start digging into this. This is what almost got uncovered with the secret government, and the continuity of government program was the real program that they were referring to as the secret government. That's what Oliver North was from. That's what Senator Inouye is talking about here with the shadowy government.
We want to turn now to
with its own funding mechanisms, right? Its own funding mechanisms is the drugs that Oliver North was smuggling from Nicaragua. They was going to Nicaragua and getting suitcases full of cocaine. Anyone who watched Narcos knows a little bit about that, and can tell you that this did happen. There was one scene in Narcos, but it didn't really go into the detail of all of it. You can read Dark Alliance, a book by Gary Webb, or Terry Reid's book. But anyways, or Michael Rupert, any of Michael Rupert stuff, and From the Wilderness. He was a LAPD narcotics detective who just realized that all the CIA was involved in this. But anyways, I want to talk about. Let's go back
to his own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
Right. So this was that continuity of government program. And they actually had a bunker that was set up in Dallas, and it connects to all these assassinations. It was almost uncovered, and we let these people really get away with the crime, which is terrible. because if we expose the deep state, we're gonna basically, wake people up. This is the best way. It's the Great Awakening is what's going on right now. It's 2020. It's vision. It's the Great Awakening. We need to like really wake up to certain things, man. We almost woke up the government back in 2007, 2000. When the movement was the strongest with the 9/11 Truth movement, and there were people doing. I remember freeway blogging. And freeway blogging, man, that used to get tons of attention, and it was forcing them to, starting to cover the stuff. But of course, they didn't cover the real conspiracy theories. They covered all these disinformation agents, and they said, "Oh, this is what a conspiracy theorist is, and this is what the 9/11 conspiracy theorists believe." And then they just did it again with this other senator saying, "Oh, no plane theory. Oh, she doesn't believe a plane crash into the Pentagon." It's like some of the weakest, oldest arguments and talk about 9/11. It's just like, how are people this far behind in your research? But anyways, freeway blogging used to be a big thing with the 9/11 Truth movement, and I really wish that more people would do stuff, just grab sheets and start painting them and hang them out, man. And we should, like, from 9/11 until November 22nd every year, like for the month of September, October, November, like people should go and like make that like freeway blog season, and just go and freeway blog the shit out of all this stuff to expose it, to really like, put real strong information and messages on there and websites and stuff, and just go out there and stand with the sign. If you're not doing nothing, all these old people are retired and stuff, man, like you could do that, stand with a sign, and I don't know. But anyways, the House Select Committee on Assassinations was a real deal, man. If we push the government hard enough, and we push the media, and we push the friggin' senators, they will force them. We show them good evidence. Stop showing them Judy Wood. Stop showing no plane theory. Stop showing mini nuke theory. All these ridiculous theories, and people are standing by them and just arguing until they're blue in the face over conspiracy theories, dude. We need to go after suspects, and the core suspects are the three people that we need to go to after I outlined in this article, this recent article, which really gets to the core of it. I'm trying to strip down and get to the core. How can we make this digestible in 30 seconds, a 5-minute video, which I'm working on perfecting, getting this information in clear vision to name exactly who was involved, because it goes back to the deep state. This is the Ford administration, right? This was Air Force One during the Ford administration. This is Dick Cheney. This is Henry Kissinger, and this is L. Paul Bremmer. L. Paul Bremmer was, directly, what's L. Paul Bremmer doing sitting with the president, and Kissinger? This guy was an inside man. He was deep in the deep state. All these guys were deep in the deep state to one degree or another. If you look up I forget who this guy's name is. He's a senator from I forget where the heck he was from. Anyone know this guy's name? If they look it up. But anyways, Dick Cheney, L. Paul Bremmer, and Donald Rumsfeld, you go back in the history books. It took out that picture. So let me find that picture for people. So seeing as they took that one out, I wanna blow some of these pictures up a little bit. So this is Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld back in the Ford and Nixon administrations, man. That's them. These guys were deep state way back in the day. Northcom is like Northcom is the contingency plan, right? This is the military wing of the defense part of the government. Sorry, this sounds like so uncredible. I'm distracted, and there's other stuff going on. I can't be on here much longer. I mean, I could go so hard and go into so much shit, but it would take me friggin' hours, because that's what I have all these websites and research and put it all together for. But in any case, all these guys, there's air defense failures that happened on 9/11. It can all be traced back to this COG group, where they did these disaster scenario planning think tanks. Just like Scenario 12D, right? We all know Scenario 12D.
Yeah. Some government think tank's upload directory. Here's your scenarios, ladies.
These look like counterterrorism scenarios, war games developed for the Defense Department.
What's scenario 12D?
Airline terrorism? That doesn't make sense. Your father was murdered over a war game?
Download it.
I can do.
Download it. Yeah. Yeah. This is crazy shit, dude. So people got murdered on those planes who knew about this program. A lot of the people on Flight 77 were set up. Barbara Olson included was actually a paid hit by a senator who wanted his wife dead, and they approached him. Apparently, that's one of the conspiracy theories and I believe it. It should be investigated, along with a host of others. It's like all these murders were connected to this deep state wing and Overlord. Overlord's Dick Cheney, basically. If you want to know who Overlord is. I'm not fucking QAnon, dude. I have never supported QAnon, man. There's a great awakening happening, but it's nothing to do with QAnon. Those QAnon idiots are actually spreading a false awakening. It's not even the real awakening. And they're spreading tons and tons of disinformation. So I just got attacked by my cat. I knew he was getting pissed off. He just bit the shit out of my hand. Ow, I had to grab him, throw him off me. He's nice, but sometimes he gets a little crazy. Yeah, QAnon are waking up a lot of stupid people, maybe, and getting them to, maybe starting some kind of awakening. But if it doesn't really turn into, if they don't get turned on to real information, it's not going to go anywhere. And the real information is getting so fucking censored, man. It's crazy how bad they censor all this stuff. This video was up on Google Video and YouTube. It used to get pulled down back in 2004, 2005, and until so many people started posting it up, and this core corruption guy really blew it up, that it got really huge. But this is where the official story first came from. This is really fucking creepy because this guy was working at Marsh & McLennan, right in the Twin Towers. You can go to this thing right here, John Cole's blog right here. You can see the experiments that we did to debunk all the we debunked all these people that were metal. This blacksmith guy who was telling us you can weaken the steel with jet fuel, and here's how it collapsed and all this other stuff. Well, we did our own experiments with thermite and had this great thermite debate because they were the debunkers. We debunked the debunkers, man, and then it just disappeared, and they turned into, oh well, there wasn't molten slag, so there's no evidence for thermite. When you use a stoichiometric mixture, there's even and it burns really quick like nanoparticulates. It's not going to leave any residue behind. And we did all. I mean, the arguments are just there. People can go through it. It's not hard to see that you obviously know that if 9/11 was an inside job, there's disinformation out there. There's a cover-up, which they try to put Henry Kissinger in charge of the whole investigation until the wives of the victims that died asked him about his connections to Osama bin Laden, at which point he turned white in the face and quit the commission immediately and put Leslie Keane in charge of it, right? So, not Leslie Keane. Sorry, Leslie Keane's somebody else, but the Keane Commission, right? It was called the Keane Commission. I forget who Keane was. Let me just correct that real quick. Commission 9/11. So the National Commission, yeah. So the 9/11 Commission. It was a lie. Lee Hamilton and Thomas Keane. All right, these guys were basically the deep state people that were appointed to head up the whole National Commission on Terrorist Attacks to the United States, and they wrote the cover-up. That was a pre-scripted version of what happened on 9/11. And you want to know exactly where that story came from? It came from deep state operative L. Paul Bremmer, who worked inside Marsh & McLennan, right inside the friggin' damn World Trade Center. All right, you go to this thing. This is Marsh & McLennan, right where the 93. It struck the secure computer room, right near his office. Right in the World Trade Center. I mean, he left. He should have been in that office. Why wasn't he? He left work that day, and he went and gave us the official story, which has been the story of what happened on 9/11 that we've been told for 19 years now, and it hasn't changed. The government's been drilling this version of 9/11 for 19 years, and it came from this man. This is the first person to say it anywhere. The first person to say the official story.
Who's joining us in the studio? It's Paul Bremmer. Want to make sure I'm getting your name right because I'm just meeting you just at this moment. You're a terrorism expert.
Counterterrorism, I hope.
And can talk to us a little bit.
He's a terrorism expert. Look how he corrects her, dude. No, counterterrorism. Yeah, he was head of like the Harvard Counterterrorism Board. He was an expert on all this stuff. This guy was the deep state, right? He just look at him emotionless. He just lost like a whole bunch of people he knew and worked with. And he was the boss for it at the towers, dude. He has no emotion on his face whatsoever. This is like
A bit about who could. I mean, there are a limited number of groups who could be responsible for something of this magnitude.
Yes, this is a very well planned, very well coordinated attack, which suggests it's very well organized centrally. And there are only 3 or 4 candidates in the world, really, who could have conducted this attack.
Bin Laden comes to mind right away, Mr. Bremmer.
Indeed, he certainly does. Bin Laden was involved in the first attack on the World Trade Center, which had as its intention doing exactly what happened here, which was to collapse both towers. He certainly has to be a prime suspect, but there are others in the Middle East, and there are at least 2 states, Iran and Iraq, which should at least remain on the list of potential suspects.
What kind of coordination would, I mean, how could...
Look at that. This dude knew. He was an expert on like all this stuff. He just so happened to miss work at the World Trade Center. He should have been in his office and died in the office with his coworkers. No emotion, but to go there, you know, like faked emotion, completely faked. He bites his lip. Yeah, like this is so well scripted, and this is the official story on day one. Came from this guy, blamed Iraq, and then
something like this be put together?
Well,
candidates.
you have to have, first of all, you've got to find...
pay attention to the language.
And then,
very
of course,
important.
They have to find ways around what we thought was pretty good security at our airports. We haven't had a hijacking in a long time, let alone 4. So there had to have been some very good coordination there.
Oh, indeed there was, because look who ran security at the airports. United Airlines, Securicom Stratesec, the Bush-connected CIA front company, which had all the contracts to install the cameras and all the badging and the security access and all that stuff at the World Trade Centers, also had the contracts for Dulles International Airport and United Airlines out of Logan, right? So they had the ability, the coordination at all these airports to coordinate all this stuff.
There has to have been coordination in the whole planning of the attack. The people, if they were not Americans, had to get visas to get into the United States. They needed false identities probably to buy airplane tickets. They needed cars to get to the airport.
Okay, so there's another whistleblower named Michael Springman you can look up who will testify about those. So the 9/11 whistleblowers do exist, right? So Michael Springman you can look up, and he'll testify about the hijacker's passport, which were issued by the CIA. So, okay, go on.
I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that had to happen here.
Go ahead.
Well, with as many resources as our government and our allies' governments around the world devote to studying terrorism and knowing what's going on and what they're planning, you have to wonder how something of this magnitude, how this could take place without any warning or any hint that it was coming.
First of all, the intelligence against terrorists is the hardest intelligence there is to gather. Basically, you have to have a spy in the...
Look at that. See, he nailed it right on the head. Okay, so we're trying to collect intelligence to, for a conspiracy, to people who are trying to prove an inside job are essentially doing, it's the hardest thing to do, out there. This is like exactly, scripted media.
Who's willing to talk to you for whatever reason. It's the hardest intelligence there is. The National Commission on Terrorism, which I chaired last year, made as our key recommendation a much more vigorous effort to try to get terrorist spies as informing on their colleagues to us. Made as our key for whatever reason.
So this.
It's the hardest intelligence there is. The National Commission on Terrorism, which I chaired last year, it's the hardest intelligence there is. The National Commission on Terrorism, which I chaired last year, made
So he chaired the National Commission on Terrorism. He says it right there.
Where we have 4 airplanes being hijacked in the same morning. 2 from Dulles Airport, it appears. So there's a lot of lessons.
So I don't know what he knew, but he was told not to go to work that day, and he was given the script to go on the news and say it. I'm not saying that he set his people up or put a homing beacon in his tower to get the World Trade Center. But Marshall McLennan was the #1 tenant in the entire World Trade Center. If you look into it, they own the majority of the floors were Marshall McLennan. There were a couple other tenants and stuff and leases going on, but they were the #1 lease, I believe, in one of the towers anyway. Which is interesting because if you look in World Trade Center 7, Solomon Smith Barney occupied 37 out of 47 floors. So World Trade Center 7 tenants list. That bank occupied the majority of the floors in that building. It's quite interesting. I explain it to if I wanted to explain it to my 4-year-old son, I'd show him the Bank of Evil from the Minions, right? From Despicable Me, where he goes to the Bank of Evil, right? It's gonna make me go right. So he goes through this secret bathroom entrance and finds the Bank of Evil, and it says formerly Lehman Brothers, but it should have been formerly Solomon Smith Brothers, or Solomon Brothers, because this was a Bank of Evil that has never been investigated. Like, I wonder what the people who worked for this bank did after 9/11. If they invested in like things that profited massively, how much money they all made, and what that money went toward funding and everything. It's just sickening to think of this, like that the criminals are running things. They're made billions of dollars off of Dick Cheney and Halliburton, right? Made billions of dollars off the Iraq War, and the oil companies made billions of dollars off stealing the Iraqis' oil. These are unprecedented war crimes in the history of anything, ever. And to think that they're not going to go unprosecuted 19 years later, it's absolutely sickening. We should be freaking out there with banners, screaming to the masses, like, wake the hell up. Like, we should be out there freeway blogging this like day and night until we get a new House Select Committee on Assassination, a House Select Committee on deep state friggin' networks. We have half this network outed and routed. They want to set up this total surveillance and information grid and this total surveillance network, and they're so obsessed with total information awareness. Well, guess what? You're going to take, it's a double-edged sword, baby. You're going to take what goes along with it. Because there's people, when you're waking up to what everybody else is doing and peeping in people's webcams and through their porno collections on pictures of their girlfriend on their friggin' cell phone. All right? Well, you're doing all that, peep show, voyeurism, perverts. Well, you're doing all that. We're investigating all your deepest, darkest secrets. We're exposing them, and you can censor us all you want, and you can put the media out. You own the majority of the media, and they even bought out all the independent medias to try and help them out during COVID and stuff. Oh, what a bunch of crap that was. But anyways, these guys are all known about. Most of them are dead now. Henry Kissinger, 97. He's going to be dead soon. It's just amazing that it's taken this long and that they got away with it. But yeah, I would love to see these people interviewed for real. Like 19, 20 years later, they got to be people doing interviews, and they can't be scripted, or it's going to be too fucking obvious. There needs to be someone who grills them on this information. We need to blow that information about World Trade Center 7 and the Cheney connection up. Show people, like, look up the Rumsfeld resume, right? This is it. It's on CBS News. This was published, back in 2000, before 9/11. So it's not propaganda, right? So you look up his whole resume, you'll find out that he was on that bank. Oh, they removed it. They removed it from his resume, but he worked at that bank for Solomon Smith Brothers Barney. I think they removed that part from his resume, maybe. Because it's 9/11. They probably put it back up after 9/11 because people were looking for it. They're like, that's not true. I went and looked it up and didn't find it. Because it was on here. That's crazy. Go to an archived version of it, of this resume, and see if there's changes in it, and take screenshots, somebody. Because this would be good evidence of fake news and news manipulation. What the fuck, man? Alright. Advanced audio properties, mic. Let me go to properties. How about now? Alright, we're gonna do a different thing. I'm just gonna switch it to that mic because my sound's fucking up on my... I gotta get a new condenser mic, dude. This one's fucked. I dropped it on the ground a couple times. It's been all over the US with me. So, I'll get a new one and we'll fix it, man. Sorry for that, guys. I hope that some of this was legible, man. I hate that this happens. But the Rumsfeld resume, he worked at Solomon Smith Barney in that bank, and so did Dick Cheney. They sat on the Foreign Policy Advisory Board. So they're advising international bankers inside the World Trade Center. And then it just so happens to blow up, and that third building came down in what looked like a controlled demolition. And they asked Rumsfeld about it, and he knows nothing about it, has no idea. But we just remember that the official story came from L. Paul Bremmer. He was the first person to say it. This is the deep state guy. He now lives up in Vermont and is a ski instructor at Okemo Mountain. If you guys want to look up that, he sells paintings. You can buy his paintings online. The sad paintings of L. Paul Bremmer. Yeah, he's sad because he friggin' knows he's involved in a deep state operation against the, you know. These are his paintings. Bush's painting too. Not like the painting in Jeffrey Epstein's house with him and the airplane, the Twin Towers, whatever. But that was supposedly the same artist. I don't think it was in Jeffrey Epstein's house, but same artist. But anyways, yeah, this is L. Paul Bremmer's paintings. He doesn't know much about perspective and you know, straight square lines. Maybe that barn's just built that way, all crooked like that. But interesting stuff. Terrible. Terrible, dude. I'd do better paintings than that. God, if I had a friggin' mansion and a studio and all the money that you have, you sick bastard. He teaches ski instruction now. This is what this dude's been up to. Crazy that these people, you know, like, nobody knows their name, that you'll never hear about them on the mainstream media. The guy that ran the Iraq War, okay? The Iraq War was led by Bremmer, all right? What killed 100,000 to 1 million Iraqis in just the first 4 years of conflict. The blood that are on these people's hands is unfathomable, brother. Like, it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy that the truth has been fucking suppressed so hard for so long. It's like, all these anti-war protests, man, that happened. I remember all the anti-Bush protests. If they had just all gathered up on and they had the intelligence and had the knowledge, it's just crazy how people are just so disconnected and misled and just clueless about all the stuff. If they knew what I knew and just could put it all together, we could get an investigation, a Senate hearing commission, force it out of the government, and the whole deep state would crumble like a house of cards. Those three, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, and L. Paul Bremmer, you pull those, the whole house of cards is tumbling down, and we'll get the X technology out of this. How? Let's talk about this. When the deep state gets exposed, the biggest secret, this is what you know, the UFO community call the Men in Black. E. Howard Hunt's not a man in black. I don't know who is. If you research this guy and who the heck he was. But, yeah, I don't know, dude. You guys gotta just, the whole fucking, it's all there for everyone to see. It's all there. We just gotta hammer it. Let's all join up together and nail the last nail in the coffin, for Christ's sake. We all need to, I don't know how to do it because people think that the 9/11 conspiracy is about these ridiculous theories, you know, and people arguing about, oh, what brought the towers down? It turned to dust. You saw the video. It just vaporizes. It turns to dust. I was like, yeah, this is a building. It's a massive building, like 100 square foot floor plan. I mean, 1,000 square foot floor plan. Well, how big was the World Trade Center on the side? It's just, you get the blueprints. By the way, the 93 World Trade Center bombing happened in 93 by an FBI informant who thought he was taking part in a drill. They gave him real explosives, and he thought he was taking part in a drill. So the FBI has been involved in this too. That's why they don't investigate. They're covering for this. You know, there's top officials at the FBI. They sent all the underlings out to that Monterey, California retreat so they wouldn't be, around and they couldn't catch wind of what was going on. You know, and a bunch of people have found out about this at the FBI and quit their positions and quit their jobs and they retired and they just don't want to talk and they just like, I'm just going to go live my life and I'm just going to buy a house in Maine and go fishing, you know, and I'm just going to pretend this freaking shit doesn't exist. It does exist, motherfuckers, and I hope you get this message, and I hope someone out there knows you and sends this video to you so that you can get in touch with me. I'm gonna have I'm gonna do one of these I'm gonna put a video together for next year, and I want to get information on this, and I want to host like live stream call-ins where people can call in, and I can get people to actually like. I know there's more people out there alive that know tons more about this shit. They're just afraid to talk because the time's not right. It's just, it hasn't been. They have so much to say. There's got to be. There's too much going on with this. The 93 World Trade Center bombing, they hired a company called Tridata Corporation to do the basically the repairs and the engineering, and they had to get all the blueprints, right, for the World Trade Center. And basically engineer how to rebuild it, right? 93 World Trade Center bombing. So Tridata Corporation was a subsidiary of another deep state organization which is tied to 9/11 called SVC International, which also built all these systems to basically do the cockpit lockout and the takeover controls that we see in this Back to the X-Files video when they're in the plane. And they're on the airport, and then they get on the plane, and then the thing is flying in the World Trade Center, and they have to hack into the auto controls to override the autopilot, because they go in the cockpit, right?
Sir, I'll be happy to contact your superiors in the government to confirm. Sir, damn it! He's right.
He's right. They took control over the plane. They don't even have control. So scriptwriters thought this stuff up back in 2001. This came out before 9/11. This is predictive programming, if you want to call it that, right? So that was the key, that key part, right? They burst into the cockpit. They say, you don't have control of this plane. And then he goes forward and touches they tell him to get out. Yeah, right. And then he touches the controls, and they're like, holy crap, because they know most pilots fly the ship by autopilot. They don't even touch the controls. So they could have been flying that whole thing by remote control with the autopilot and taken over the planes. And the company that had that technology was directly tied to the company that got all the blueprints for the World Trade Center back in after the 93 World Trade Center bombing that the FBI did. So it all fucking connects, deep state, bro. Isn't that fucked up? Crazy. Just crazy shit, dude. It all needs to be investigated. World Trade Center 6, there was a company called the El Dorado Task Force, which you can look up on Wikispooks. And there was an interagency money laundering firm. And they were in that building in charge of, international money laundering investigations. And all their files were missing from the vault was rigged open, and all the files were missing, and all their shit was gone, like, basically. That was the vaults there was no gold. The gold beneath the World Trade Center is like one story, right? I haven't been able to really confirm that. There was like a truck full of gold leaving and all that stuff. It's like scanty little things, but this was real. The El Dorado Task Force, and their vault was found empty. And someone broke in there and took all the money laundering investigations and got rid of those while they were destroying all the Enron investigations and all the CIA files and stuff in World Trade Center 7. And, And in any case, yeah, early on, someone had said that there was financial backups of the Pentagon's black budget in World Trade Center 7, but I could never actually find confirmation for that. It was a claim I had made in earlier videos, like when I was first starting researching this stuff. But I think we got a lot of the picture pretty much put together, and we know what the disinformation is, and we know what the real information is. And I argue this with people who don't know who I am, and they tell me that, oh, architects and engineers are the disinformation agents. And these are people I know, like Jonathan Cole, like, is a family friend of ours. Like, I met this guy in real life. Like, he's working for the CIA too. Is John Cole working for the CIA? I know I'm not working for the CIA. I know I went to work today, doing construction. I know that's what I make my money doing, and I get paid to do. And anyone's welcome to look me up or look up who my father is. And my father is an oil company insider. That's one of the arguments that they say. My dad's an energy expert. He's a petroleum engineer, and he knows more about refineries than half the people friggin' out there. And you don't know anything about my dad because he's a renewable energy wind expert, and he's doing all kinds of stuff to get us transferred over to renewable energies and help us and help this planet. We're here to help this planet, and I've been working hard to help this planet. And part of it is like, part of me is just, some of us are gifted to see the light, and some of us are gifted to see the dark. And I'm one of those people that's gifted to see the dark. Because I went to jail, I talked about that before earlier on in this, that people have used that to try and discredit me. What difference does it make? There's tons of not real criminals going to jail. There's tons of people that go to jail that don't belong in jail. And there's so many more people that belong in jail that will never go to jail, it seems. So I don't know what people are getting at with that. It's not about me. It's not going to how does it discredit the information that I'm putting forward when I went to those dark places and been through those dark things in my life, man. And part of me was changed, and part of me, I met some people in jail that taught me some stuff. I met one guy in particular that got me into a lot of this stuff. He's the one who introduced me to the Behold the Pale Horse and got me, researching a lot of this stuff. I met some people in there that were pretty well connected with some stuff, some interesting underworld dark connections, like that whole thing in the Minions movie too, right? So the Minions, there's a lot of awesome things in this film. My kid's favorite movie too, by the way. It's awesome watching it with him. But the Minions is there's so much hidden stuff in this, right? So they have this. What was it? The Evil Con, right? Villain Con. It was Villain Con, right? So they have this thing called Villain Con. Villain Con's jail. Jail's like, when you go to jail, it's like education. It's like criminal education school. It's like crime school. It's like teaching you how to be a better criminal, teaching you like all about crime and how to manipulate crime. And they actually have crime schools at the CIA, like and teams of lawyers who research nothing but crime and how to get away with crime. That was part of the revelations in Philip Agee's book about the CIA. If you guys want to learn about the CIA, there's a book by Philip Agee. He kind of exposes a lot of the stuff in the underlying worlds and the workings of the CIA and stuff. Really cool stuff. People know about this now, but it's really like, I saw a dark side of things, which allowed me to see more dark shit that people aren't awake to. They just don't see that kind of stuff. They don't look at things the same when they haven't been exposed to that kind of dark shit. So when you read about this, Armageddon plan, where they basically this continuity of government program that Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld sat on for all these years back in the Ford Nixon administration, they dreamed up all these. They said on think tanks, and it was there. Oh yeah, I got blocked from posting on Facebook too. They wouldn't let me post. Crazy shit going on with the censorship on social media with all this. It's nuts. They do not want the truth coming out about this. But it's kind of too late for that, man. It's just, you guys fucked yourselves. You made so many mistakes with Building 7, and you shouldn't have just. You had to do Building 7. I mean, you couldn't just leave it alone. That was like the key target with what you guys were planning and everything that was going on. But I don't know. The reporting it 20 minutes early on the BBC was definitely a timestamp fuck up thing that you guys had wrong with your pre-scripted story. But yeah. interesting stuff with 9/11. There's so many coincidences, but yeah, it's really, we got to get people focused on the core suspects, going after these 3 people, because we get the indictment. We get enough people blogging about 9/11 and going nuts about 9/11 again. It's going to reopen a new investigation, and that's what we really need. I want to watch this whole deep state fall, dude. These people are criminals. I went to fucking jail for some bullshit, dude. If I went to jail and had to go through what I went through, and for fucking these people to sit on yachts, they don't go to jail. They go to Hollywood. They go to private islands and sex parties with fucking underage girls, and they're the biggest criminal scum on the fucking planet, and they're walking free right now. And it's part of our awakening process to come to terms with this, and to, you know, to realize humanity for what it is, and to come up with a new way, because this whole corporate structure that created the deep state, it's all money driven. It's all just the flow of money. It's all the interests of money when you look at it at the core. The people that did 9/11 did it because they understood that the oil companies would fucking love it. They go right along with it. You know, the military industrial complex, the arms market was flat. That was predicted and said in that Hollywood script from the X-Files, right? All the biggest money-making industries in the United States have no interest in exposing this for the top levels. That's why it hasn't been exposed. There's too many people making fucking money off this shit. Even people that weren't directly involved. And that's the key. Because you can't just do a conspiracy and like, oh, everyone involved. You know, you got to have other people that aren't involved, that they're protecting you, because, everyone, one pawn is greasing the other, and that's just how the exchange gets made. That's how Washington operates, and nobody knows too much, and no one gets too much information, you know. So when friggin' the CIA says that, Jeremy here is a suspect. I mean, not a suspect. He's a threat because he's exposing too much stuff. So they go and find out, what kind of car I drive, and they send it to some dude at the CIA whose desk job it is to figure out how to kill me. He doesn't know who he's killing or why they're killing me. He just does his job, and it's all compartmentalized. Doesn't know shit. And then it moves on to the next person and up the ranks. And I hope you guys try to come and kill me, because I got a network of people right now watching, and a network of cameras and hidden cameras and all kinds of stuff. So I really hope they try to pull some stuff, because I'll have the evidence to back it up. Not that they're going to target me. I don't think they're going to go after me. But anyways, I hope my family doesn't become a friggin' target over this shit. And but yeah, it will be documented, and if anything happens to me, I will never ever kill myself. I'm too friggin'. I will devote my life to taking down the deep state, and maybe have a death wish of death by suicide. Death by not suicide, death by what Hillary would call suicide, right? What government? What do you call it when the government kills you? There's got to be a word for that. But anyways, yeah, if that would be kind of like, great if we should all be striving to be that much of a target that that's everything. Everyone's so fucking pussyfied and so fucking afraid of the government because of all this security and control grid stuff, and they just think it's like way more advanced than it is. They're just setting it up now. It's not nearly as advanced as it's going to be. Yeah, in 10 more years, suicide by government. That's what it's called. That's a good word. Suicide by government. Yeah. That's kind of, I almost like have a death wish with the stuff that I do and that I put out, and I don't even fucking care. It's like, yeah, go on, kill me, because the truth, the reality is I'd rather have the government kill me than live in a world that's not free and that, what I mean, and not just, where there's no justice and no freedom. I'd rather die. I would rather die, and you should be the same way. And there's too many people that aren't that way, and it's fucking sad. Because, if more people were that same way, that, you would rather be free and rather have the truth and justice and rather die than have those things, then that would be the motivate. That would get more people, because people are too afraid of dying. They're just like, I just want to live my life, and I don't want the government to mess with me, and I don't want people to think I'm weird. And we should be fighting for this hard, man. This should be our core belief, is freedom and truth and justice. I don't know why it's not. Yeah, MySpace was killed because HTML was hard to make a database from. That's why. That's a good fucking. That's the truth, dude. It probably would have taken over if they had done it. Dude, I would go on. I don't want to go on Joe Rogan because it would just blow me up too big, dude. And Joe, I don't know. I wouldn't want that big of an audience, dude. I'm more for the refined researcher, for the people that are really into like detailed nuts and bolts, like half autistic friggin' savants, kind of research group. I'm in a very elite. I don't think I'm ready for Joe Rogan audience. So that's the same thing as like if a Secure Team 10 offered me to friggin' go on his show, I'd be like, nah, I don't know if it's the right venue. You know what I mean? It's kind of like we're too high. When you get to alien scientist level, you're at the top of the game in your fucking research, basically. Because I don't find too many other people out there that know as much about so many different things in the widespread. Not to toot my own horn, but dude, you guys, you should be tooting. I'm tooting your horn, basically. Because if you're here watching me, then you're up. You're at that level in your research, you know what I mean? Because I don't get a lot of views. I don't, if you're here, then you know about where we're at and what we're trying to do, and what's going on right now. And there's so many people say, "Oh, you believe this anti-gravity crap?" Oh man, I have all these shills like busting me on my door down on the anti-gravity shit and saying, "Oh, anti-gravity's not real," and you guys are like, "Have you found any experimental evidence for it yet?" Because that's been my big step, is getting the lab to prove. I have no skin in the game, dude. If anti-gravity is fake and doesn't exist, then we're gonna show that, but we're gonna show it the right way. We're gonna disprove all these different claims of it, and any new claim that comes along, we're gonna test. And I want a public lab that's set up to basically do this, and that's the whole idea behind it. I'm not trying to prove anti-gravity, dude. It's just I'm investigating anti-gravity as a scientist. I can't believe these people, we need, just like people, we should be investigating 9/11 as scientists. We should be investigating 9/11 as skeptics. Instead of they have all these fake skeptics that aren't really skeptical. They just want to push the same story that Paul Bremmer pushed for 10 friggin' years. Oh, here we go. So I recently figured out how to change my channel, and I'm back on Minds.com. I'm going to be starting posting on Minds.com. Read my article on Medium that I just wrote. I'm going to start posting on there and shit. So I'm going to start really ripping stuff down and exposing all these secrets. We're digging into Thane Eugene Caesar too a bit more, because I know there's more deep state connections with this guy who had the working at the Ambassador Hotel and Lockheed Martin. Of all the friggin' people to hire a dude from to be an assassin for RFK, it was a Lockheed Martin guy. And there's something going on with the Skunk Works back in 68. 66, right around the same time that Bryce Stewart was researching that kinematic effect stuff, which is all that friggin' Nazi Bell technology, dude. This is the X technology. Friggin' Roswell was the real deal. All right, that memory foil and that bakelite material. It was not a weather balloon. There's no way it could have been a weather balloon. The people at Roswell leaked it out to the press, and then when the superiors came in, they said, "Oh God, we screwed up," and they went and covered up the whole thing with the cover story, and it's been the same cover story ever since. But the fact is, years later, when researchers went there and talked to the witnesses and got the witnesses, there was the descriptions of the materials. These people did not make up that stuff, and there was too many different people saying the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just, I can't see how people are trying to discredit this. It makes so much sense with the National Security Act coming afterwards, all the secrecy of the state, the secrecy of the Manhattan Project was nothing compared to what erupted after 1947, 2 years after the atomic bomb. Okay, so 2 years after the atomic bomb in 47, this was like the big thing. I mean, the secrecy just went freaking exponentially and went crazy after 2 years later, and that was after the atomic bomb. So like, what were they trying to keep secret? And it makes so much sense that this was related. we're doing the research into it, and we're exposing that technology. We know that this memory foil was a metallic glass. It wasn't mylar from a weather balloon, and we're going to dig into the science of this stuff, including all the history of classified anti-gravity technology and anti-gravity studies. Whether you want to call it anti-gravity, anti-gravity doesn't really exist. It's a stupid name to call it, right? That I agree. But if you go to hoverbrothers.com, I'm gonna update this page and this whole website and stuff too, man. I just don't have enough time and I'm too busy. But I'm going off today. Full disclosure, man, was what we need. Definitely. And it all needs to come at once in 2020, man. Somehow, I don't know how we could do it, is wake everybody up to everything that's going on, but it would just be nuts to do it all at once. But anyways, I have a whole bunch of stuff, declassified studies on here. Estes Park Conference. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about before I get off, because this is coming next week. And this is so there's a propulsion conference going on, right? Advanced Propulsion Workshop at Estes Park. All right, and this is going on next week. I'm going to be broadcasting live from the studio next week. And we're going to be going on. We're going to be showing some experiments, because apparently we have some experimental evidence for some of these anti-gravity experiments that we've been able to successfully replicate some things, and we're going to dig into that a little bit more next week. So people talking shit about that can suck it with the top propulsion, one of the top propulsion conferences in the country. We're going to show. I think disclosure might happen next week, at least as far as anti-gravity technology or propulsion technology, because there's some interesting things and buzzings around it, the scientists involved in this conference right now. So just keep your eyes open. I'm not holding any promises, and I'm not getting too excited just yet, but this is cool. 14 million views on my channel, it showed. That's pretty amazing. 14 million views. That's a mind-boggling number. But anyways, I gotta get off here, guys. It's 6:30. I gotta get some shit done. I got my kid's birthday party this weekend, and I gotta get some shit ready for it. So I gotta head out of here. I've already been talking way too long, and I could go on. I could go on for hours about all this stuff. Edgar Fouché was the real deal, real Area 51 employee, friend of mine. Just talk to him every night. Sucks that he betrayed me and told Andrew Johnson about my criminal record and my real name, because I was just alien scientist and I was anonymous before that, because I didn't want people to really dig into that. But whatever, fuck it. It's 20 years ago. It was like right after 9/11 that it happened. So it's old news. People are more concerned with that than the research that I'm doing. Then I don't care, man. That's what's held me back from getting on Rogan. That's what's held me back from everything. It's crazy. That's why I support the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think the people that say all lives matter can suck a dick, because you're just basically saying that Nazi stormtroopers' lives matter, or that pedophiles' lives matter, or all these other scumbags that we'd be way better off. They're evil, demonic people. They're demons that should be purged from the earth. All right. They should be killed. Their lives do not matter, all right? Black lives matter. And Black lives matter especially right now, because they're a minority target. And it's crazy what's going on in the country. There's riots and just the racism and everything else. It's institutional racism is a huge part of the problem. And if you believe in all this, Men in Black, and that we're not alone with aliens and all that crap, right? Right? If you believe that that we're not the only one in basically the whole problem is racism, because it's these aliens controlling it, because they don't think the human race is good enough to be part of the galactic brotherhood. They don't think that we're strong enough, or that we're mature enough, or that we're ready. So there's this whole institution of racism, and racism's brought our entire country to its knees. I got to get my brother on here, because he's shared some interesting perspectives with me on this whole thing from the Black Lives Matter movement and what it's all about, and the whole issue with our police, because it's all connected. This is the three branches of government, right? If you're familiar, this is a very important branch, and I think this is the only branch we really have left to fight after, because justice is dead. Justice is, look at these criminals from 9/11, they've gone free. This justice, the third branch of the government, which is the judicial department, it's the only one we really have left to do anything. That's when the legislative fails and the executive fails, at least we have the judicial branch to be able to hold them accountable and get things back in order and put the deep state culprits, the criminals, back in friggin' in prison again, and start overturn the laws that are oppressing, you know, the Black Lives Matter people, and creating this whole environment where it's all right for cops to kill black people because they don't get held accountable. You know, it's like you get all these, you know, KKK members that are also work forces. You know, that some of those that burn crosses are the same that work forces. Some of those that burn crosses are the same that work forces. And what happens is there's a system of institutional racism, which holds all of us down. It hurts us all, not just the black people. It hurts us all. This is a problem that we need to stand up for our black brothers and fight against, because it's hurting not just them, it's hurting everyone, and it hurts everyone. And it's just crazy what is going on. But the judicial branch is that last. We need to rise up against the judicial branch, especially with COVID-19. They're on a backlog of cases right now. Nobody plead guilty. Nobody plead guilty until next year. Like, everybody hold their cases up again right now, because they're already 6 months backed up from 9/11. We need to start a campaign against the judicial branch. And people did this. This would go viral. This would end it all right there. Okay, I'm telling you, no plea. All you have to do is not plead out, because they'll just continue the case. They won't give you a trial. They don't have enough room to give everyone a trial. They won't be able to give everyone a trial. And if everyone pushes their case off until real justice is served in this country against the executive and legislative branches of government, then it will shut down the entire. There'll be no justice served. Like, everyone will, if everyone refuses to plead out, and we go, you could fight this in courthouses, literally, because they're all backlogged right now, and they're all trying to do court remotely from video and stuff, and setting up all this technology to replace it. This is our last chance left to take our government back and have a revolution before we lose it altogether, completely, and this technology gets buried forever, and we just live on a prison planet, which I don't know what the fuck we're ever going to evolve into as a society and as a species, as you know, more and more of the extinctions are happening all the time. We're taking over the landmass and causing all kinds of species to go to extinct at an alarming rate. We're destroying the fucking planet for greed. It's time to end it. It's time to end it all, man. I can't believe this. I live in this world. It's such a backwards world, man. What we could have if we had access to this technology. We could be building things on Mars and in the stars and out in space. And I think we're trapped here because there's racism that thinks that we're not ready as a human species to be part of this galactic brotherhood. I don't know what's going on, but I do know 9/11 was an inside job. I've been part of the 9/11 Truth Movement from the beginning, and I know that there's a lot of crazy things going on right now, that on all sides, man, and I just, you know, I don't want to start all the right arguments, but the police state is the biggest problem. Is 9/11 was the start of the police state, and the police state was the big issue with it. And the only way to destroy the police state is the police don't have no power without the justice system, without the courts. So the real fight needs to be fought in the courts. Just like all these people going and shooting police after, you know, the I can't breathe thing was just ridiculous, right? That whole movement was just co-opted. And they were just, I swear there was these propagandists and these other, you know, provocateurs staging these events to basically demonize the movement and demonize and misdirect all these people's anger. Because it wasn't those police that did this. It was that one cop that did it. And the people that they should have been mad at was the Staten Island DA's office, because it's the district attorneys. Anyone who knows how law works. I don't know. People are just not educated enough to know. They just think that, you know, cops bad. Oh, cops killed black men. They're bad. They must be bad. All cops bad. All cops evil. All cops racist. Must kill all cops to revenge my black brother's death. I don't get it. Like, where's the sense in that? It was senseless killing of innocent police officers that had nothing to do with it. And there's black people that have died in these riots and other things too. Like, there's all this misdirected aggression. It's like the real people they should have been mad at was the district attorney's office that refuses, you know, and the whole system of the corruption. You have to understand the system and understand where the corruption lies and understand how to fight the system and how to break the system down. And it's all about education, people, and educating people at the most basic levels. I don't know. There's a lot of education to do because there's a lot of shit to learn. I've learned a lot of shit in the past my 38 years on this planet, and I'm still learning shit every day. And I feel bad for people that don't pay attention and think that this is all bullshit because they're going to have a lot of catching up to do. They have a lot of catching up to do, for sure. Yeah, we need the police to arrest these snakes, dude, and then stop, you know, killing black people as really the problem in this country, and stop killing innocent people, period. Stop just, you know, stop enforcing unjust laws that are made for the government. It's crazy what's going on in this country. In any case, I got to get going. Thank you guys all for watching, and I hope we do more make a freeway blog, spray paint some bed sheets and go hang them up, you know, on a hard to get overpass, you know, if you're not doing nothing this weekend. Get some word out there. 911insideout.com, right? That's my website where I have all this shit. I could, you know, post 911insideout.com. I might go make one myself this weekend and hang it up too. All right, yeah, man. Freeway blog. We got to bring the movement back to where it was in 2007 and get people serious, you know, and get this investigation shit on and popping, and get the deep state outed. Because I'm just fucking sick of it, man. It just drives me. It drives me absolutely nuts that people don't know and that people are so brainwashed that they have no idea that the guy that gave us the official story and started the Iraq War, that he's the dude that did it, that should be investigated for it, and he's connected to a deep state network that planned all this stuff out and carefully, you know, figured out how it all would work. And then the same deep state network that runs on governments, banking, and military industrial complex operation, like Robert McNamara, who worked on all three of those kinds of things, wrote Operation Northwoods, right? Northwoods was, you know, they just had all these scenarios figured out for all these different ideas of how the government, you know, and then they said that no one in our government could have predicted this. Bullshit, dude. You guys did. You planned the whole thing out 30 years in advance, and then you had all the positions on the World Trade Center 30 years later to make it all go down. And it was all a fucking inside job. And never forget it. I am a real 9/11 truther. Judy Wood is a disinformation agent, and half the people out there on UFO Twitter are friggin' disinfo too, man. So you can all suck my dick. And that's all I have to say about that. Because I've been doing this harder and longer than any of you punk-ass bitches who think you're 9/11 truthers. Get me. I have to go off and swear and freaking go nuts on the end. Yeah, I could hold it together, man. I don't know. Could I hold it together for an interview on a news station? I could get it. It's a different rapport when I have someone else. I'm here alone in my friggin' room with my computer, man. It's like I'm talking to myself. So just remember that. 9/11 truth, Roswell truth, JFK truth, RFK truth, MLK truth, Black Lives Matter, COVID-19 truth, and remember, I love you all, guys. You keep me doing this, and doing it harder and harder. Go hard. Remember, guys, go hard. Go way hard. Oh, hard. Peace out.